Hey guys, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you. Today we're going to be taking another look at Swordsoul Tenyi, but we're not necessarily doing gameplay today. Instead, we're going to be updating our combo guide a little bit. I asked in a recent video, because I had seen some comments in previous videos, asking if I would update the combo guide, which came out relatively recently, so it wasn't really, the first thing on my mind. So, I decided to ask, and I think the last video or the video before it, I think it was the video before it. Anyway, I asked, you guys, hey, let me know if you really want to see an updated Swordsoul combo guide, and I got, a decent number of comments saying that they did want to see it, so I figured I would go ahead and update it. And to be fair, the last time I did a combo guide, I wasn't definitely not as knowledgeable with this deck as I am now. That was right when the deck had very first come out, and I was kind of, admittedly, I was a little bit, I like to call this, I was Marge Simpson piano lessoning it. That line of The Simpsons where Marge is like, I can teach piano lessons to kids. I don't know how to play piano. I just got to say one lesson ahead of the kids. That's a little bit what I was doing with Sword Souls. I was kind of just trying to stay one lesson ahead. So, but now I have climbed to Diamond 1 from obviously the season reset down to Plat 5, and the vast majority of that climb was with Swordsoul Tenyi. There was a little bit Trizu in there as well, but I'd say it was probably like 25% Trizu, 75% Swordsoul Tenyi is what I did my climbing with. So, also now I am actually using Halq and Auradon and Protoss, so, which we weren't before, I'm thinking I didn't need them, which to be fair, I was right that they're not necessary, but they're definitely very, very, very nice to have. So, anyway, the combos I'm going to be showing are going to be with my build here that I got to Diamond 1 with. Like I said during the last video I showed this build off, I'm very, very satisfied with it, and I think this is where I like to have Swordsoul Tenyi right now. There are still tech options you could play in the deck, like Shathana or Heavenly Dragon Circle, and are definitely not bad cards to include. And, you could definitely go more above 40 than just 41 like I am here. But this, for me personally, I think this is where I really, really like the deck. So this is where I'm going to show off some combos here. As always, we'll go ahead and take a look at those in solo mode, and I'll just show off, I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to show off specific lines like I tend to do, and then after that I think I'm just going to free play some hands. I'll just be like, let's just do an opening hand, and I'll just show you, I'm looking at the hand and I'll show you what I can see, what we can do with it. So I think that might be a bit more helpful, might be able to add a little bit more of an organic component to the combo demonstrations as opposed to just the rigid this is what you do with these combinations of cards. That said, we'll still show that off as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and go into the combos. Okay, so first thing I want to show you guys is kind of what I consider to be the base combo that a lot of these other combos are built off of, which is going to be Mo Ye plus any Sword Soul or Worm card that you can use with Mo Ye's effect. Now, as always, with every combo guide I do, I'm just going to start off by showing these specific lines. With this given hand, we have Adharas, so we can actually make additional plays if we wanted to, but, again, with this hand in particular, I'm only going to show off, Mo Ye, what you can do with just Mo Ye, and then just a card to use with its effect, that being a Sword Soul card or a Worm monster. So, we're going to start by normal summoning our Mo Ye and activate the optional effect here to then reveal, just our card to our opponent. Now, if you do have multiple options like this, you usually want to reveal the worst of them, or the one that's least effective. So in this case, I'd want to reveal the Mo Ye or the Taia, probably the second Mo Ye. If you have another Mo Ye in hand, it's probably best to reveal that, because it doesn't give away the better cards in your hand that your opponent might end up playing around later in the turn, or maybe during their next turn. But also by showing your worst card, you might make your opponent think your hand is worse than it is, which might cause them to play differently. So it's a really, really minor thing, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. So that's going to let us summon our Sword Soul token here. Now we're going to synchro these into our first synchro here, which is going to be Chixiao. Sword Soul Grandmaster Chixiao. We'll go ahead and summon here. Now, we get the option to activate both effects here. You're going to want to activate them in this order. First, do Chixiao, because we actually want this to be Chainlink 1, and then we want Mo Ye to be Chainlink 2. Remember, in Yu-Gi-Oh! Chains resolve backwards. The way I always remember it is first in, last out. The first effect in is going to be the last one to resolve. So, First in, last out. This is nice to chain block it this way because it's going to keep our opponent from being able to ash the Chixiao search. They'll still be able to ash the Mo Ye draw, but that's fine. But even ash aside, you still want to do it in this order, the draw then the search, because what you draw might affect what you then end up searching. So let's assume, again, yeah, drawing Ashuna here actually, again, opens up more stuff for us to do, but let's just assume it's another dead draw, and again, the only other live card for this combo is the other Mo Ye in our hand, so we're going to use Chixiao to add a Swordsoul Strategist Longyuan in this case. Yep. Now we can activate Longyuan's effect. We'll discard the Mo Ye, just the card we revealed. Doesn't have to be always, but again, in this case, just for example's sake, it will be. That'll let us summon another token here, and now we can go into a level 10. In this case, I'd probably go for Baronne. It's generally, not always, but generally better to go for Baronne turn 1 when you can. The Omni Negate being very, very nice there. But there are some times when there's sometimes when you have to go into Chengying and not Baronne, because Ashuna's effect has been activated and you can only go into Worm Monsters for the rest of the turn. Not only that, but then there's also, if you have like a Blackout in your hand, then it might be better to set up the Blackout with a Chengying than just set up a Baronne. But in any case, this is the base of what the Mo Ye plus any card to use with this effect gets you, is Chixiao plus a level 10 Synchro, more often than not Baronne on turn 1, but could also be Chengying as well. So yeah, again, I consider this isn't like a particularly good turn 1, mind you. This is probably like a little bit below average of what you should be setting up on turn 1. But I just want to show off the base, the minimum of what we can do with minimum resources. And again, other combos are going to build on this one. So another reason I want to show it off first. Okay, let's look at the next combo here. Alright, so with this opening hand, I'm going to show you what you can do with a Tenyi monster, any Tenyi monster plus Vessel, but it's not really so much this specific combo I want to demonstrate here, and I more want to demonstrate the Halq Fibrax line, because this in particular I've seen quite a few comments asking, how do you go into the Halq Fibrax line? This was kind of one of the failings of my last videos, that one, I didn't really understand the line because I hadn't practiced it, and two, I didn't even really demonstrate it because I didn't have the cards crafted, but now we do, and now I can show it off. So there are many ways, by the way, to go into the Halq Fibrax line. I could actually do it without the Vessel because I opened Ash Blossom, and that's one of the reasons that the Halq line is so good, right? Like, if I wanted to, I mean, I'm going to do this either way. I'll show the Vessel line and keep the Ash as an actual hand trap, but either way, you'd want to start by specialing the Vishuda to the field. And again, let's assume I didn't open the Vessel here. I could just normal summon Ash and then link into Halq Fibrax. So there are many very easy ways to to get this line set up, and you can do it with even seemingly dead draws like Ash, so that's really nice. But like I said, in this line, I'm going to show you specifically what a Tenyi monster plus a Vessel will get you. So we summoned our Tenyi monster to the board, Vishuda for us in this case. Now we'll go ahead and link it off for the Monk of the Tenyi. Now that we have a non-effect monster on the board, we can go ahead and not only send a Worm monster from deck to the graveyard, but then also add one from deck to hand as well. So let me think here for a second. I think I'm able to set this up this way. It's not really going to matter what we send to graveyard as far as the combo goes, but I think I can actually set this up in a way where we can end up searching and wheeling an Archnemesis Protos to our hand. I should be able to do it. Let's go ahead and let's find out. So let's see, Vessel here. The card I'm going to send to the graveyard, that's why I mentioned this, is actually going to be Protos in this case. I've done it before in games, but I think this hand should be capable of it. And then we're going to definitely add Tenyi Spirit Adhara here. The other card I might consider foolishing, or sending from deck to the graveyard, if I didn't want to wheel the Protos, would probably just be the Ashuna, but definitely you have to add the Adhara from deck to hand here. So because we only control non-effect monsters, we can go ahead and special summon Tenyi Spirit Adhara from our hand. We're going to do so now, and now we have a tuner monster and another monster on the board, so that means we're able to link summon our Halq Fibrax. Let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, we're going to activate Halq's effect, of course, then we're going to grab the Deskbot from our deck here. Just throw it right here. And now we can go ahead and link these off for our Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon. Pretty self-explanatory so far. Just going to throw Auroradon right over there and get our tokens out on the board. And if you've ever played like Rose Tenyi or any other deck that uses a Halq Aurora online, it definitely makes knowing this one a little bit easier. This was actually the first deck I've used a Halq Aurora online with, but it's not the first time it happens to you, it looks really scary and intimidating, but it's really not that complicated. So, Deskbot 001's effect is going to activate since we've summoned multiple machine monsters at the same time, those being the tokens. Now we're going to go ahead and synchro summon actually for Yazi, Evil of the Yang Zing. I'm going to use my Deskbot 001 and 2 of these tokens here. And I'll just go ahead and throw Yazi right over here. Now we're going to activate Auroradon's effect to destroy 1 card in the field. Be very mindful of the order you click this in, because the first thing you select is the tribute, not the destroy effect. So if you click Yazi here, you'll tribute Yazi, and then you'll have to destroy one of these 2 cards, and since you tributed Yazi and didn't destroy it, you actually can't continue your combo. So we tribute the Auroradon. You do have to tribute Auroradon. You have to keep this token on board. Tribute the Auroradon, and then destroy the Yazi. Now we can go ahead and activate Yazi's effect. And we're going to want to summon... Now, it might be tempting to just immediately go for Mo Ye here because we've got a live target in our hand. But no, that's actually not what we want to do. We want to go for Taia first. We're going to throw Swordsoul of Taia right there. And I'm going to activate Taia's effect. And I'm going to banish that Protoss that we sent earlier. Alright, let's go ahead and get the Swordsoul token. Now we're going to we're going to synchro the token and the Taia. And again, you might think, oh yeah, we go for Chixiao first. But no, we're actually going to go for Baxia first here. This might look a little weird, but it's going to make sense here in a second. Let's put Baxia in defense mode right over here. And do not activate Baxia's optional effects here. That's to shuffle cards back in the deck. We definitely don't want to do that. We do definitely want to activate Taia's effect, though, and then not Baxia's. And we're going to send the Mo Ye from the deck to the graveyard here. Now, let me make sure I'm doing this right. You know, we should have the Adhara set up, and we've got the non-effect monster on the board. Yes, so we can just go ahead and do this. We'll activate Adhara's effect. Because we have an non-effect monster on the board, we can go ahead and wheel this Protoss back to our hand. So that's kind of how you set up the Protoss there. Now, if you didn't have a Worm or Swordsoul card in your hand to set this up with the Mo Ye, you would want to use Adhara to wheel one of your banished Swordsoul or Worm cards. Basically, you would want to use Taia to banish a Swordsoul or Worm card and then wheel it back with Adhara to be able to keep using, to use it for the Mo Ye to continue the combo here. But we already had the Longyuan in our hand, so in this case, we didn't have to do that. But that is the determining factor that I was trying to remember that determines whether or not you can actually set up the Protoss here. So let's go ahead and continue with the combo now. We're going to activate Baxia's effect, destroying this token in order to bring back that Mo Ye that we sent. Go ahead and put the Mo Ye right here. Now that Mo Ye is special summon, we can go ahead and activate. And actually, we could just reveal the Protoss, so we didn't even really need to necessarily... Like, you could still reveal just the Protoss, but the thing is, like, now you would have to discard the Protoss for Longyuan if you wanted to play that. It's just a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit nuanced there, so... Alright, let's go ahead and special the Chixiao. Now we can go ahead and go into that. We'll throw the Chixiao right over there. And just like last time, we're gonna see, this is kind of what I meant too when I say that that Mo Ye line is built into other combos. It's built into this Halq Fibrax line as well. So just like last time, we're gonna chain block the Chixiao and then the Mo Ye effect here. Do it in that order. First in, last out, as always, is the most important thing to remember. And in this case, we'll probably want to search the Emergence to get a discard target for the Longyuan here. In certain scenarios, we could search Emergence to search Protoss at this point. If we already had everything we needed for like Longyuan and Protoss, we could have searched Black. If we had a card to discard for Longyuan here, we could have searched Blackout and set that up as well. So just kind of depends on what you are able to set up is what you're going to search there. But like I said, in this case, we'll let you go ahead and use Emergence to search a card to set up to discard for Longyuan. We'll just grab an Ashuna here, why not? Alright, let's activate Longyuan, discard that Ashuna that we just searched up. Throw that right over here. And of course, we're going to want to get our Swordsoul token. And because we haven't had to use Ashuna, we're not locked into Worms, so we can just go ahead and go into Baronne here. And of course, we're going to burn our opponent here. That always makes it a lot easier for us to then OTK our opponent on the next turn. Well, I guess it's not really an OTK because we set up on one. You know what I mean? It just makes it easier to close out the game there. And then now we're able to set up the Archnemesis Protos as well. And the nice thing when you do it with the Halq line is that for your 3 attributes, you don't even have to get rid of any of the worm cards in your grave. You can just banish the Halq, the Auroradon, and the Deskbot because we don't need any of those anymore. Let's throw Protoss down right over here. And we'll go ahead and call Dark so as not to destroy any of our own cards, and obviously because Dark is a pretty common attribute, although if you knew what your opponent was playing, like if you knew your opponent was playing like Numerons or something, it might even still be worth it just to call Light in this scenario. Even though you blow up 2 of your own cards, you prevent your opponent from being able to really do anything. But yeah, look at this board. This is what we were able to set up with just the Tenyi monster and the vessel, so that's really, really nice. And in general, you can usually get setups about on this level more often than not with the Halq line. The Protoss is really the only variable here. The Halq line can always, at the very least, get you Baxia and the Chixiao and the level 10 synchro, but in this case, we're able to use the vessel to set up a Protoss as well. So I hope that demonstration was very helpful. The line is a little bit complex, but it's really easy to get the hang of as soon as you start getting into it. It's just, you know, it's just remembering the Halq into the Auroradon, into the Yazi, pop those, summon the Taia, and then you can use that to set up the Baxia. You use the Taia to foolish the Mo Ye, the Baxia then gets back the Mo Ye, and then it's just the Mo Ye line from there. So, yeah, again, once you start doing it often enough yourself, it's pretty easy to get the hang of. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the next combo here. Okay, so this hand might look at a glance like a little dead. Like it's like, oh, Vishuda and Taia. Those really aren't like good opening cards, are they? But together they actually do offer plays here. And it's kind of why I like having 2 Swordsoul of Taia in the deck. For a little while I was only playing 1 because you technically only need 1. But this card is definitely not bad to open a lot of the time. It's not really on par. I wouldn't say it's like on par with Mo Ye in terms of how good it is, but you know, it's still a fine card to open, and with this hand I'll demonstrate what you can do with Taia plus any Tenyi monsters. So let's go ahead and summon Vishuda. Throw Vishuda just right over there, and then we'll go ahead and send Vishuda away for Monk of the Tenyi. Alright, now we can go ahead and normal summon our Taia and activate Taia's ability, and we're going to banish that Vishuda that we just sent, which will let us get our Swordsoul token here. Alright, now we are going to go ahead and summon Chixiao. And you might think at this point, well, now isn't just this the same as the Mo Ye line, but it's not necessarily, because we're not going to get an extra draw, and we're going to need to still have a way, or find a way to set up the Longyuan in our hand. So once again though, Taia, like Mo Ye, the similarity here is that we're still able to chain block the Chixiao search, which is definitely the more important of the 2 things here. But I'll go and show you how to set up a level 10 synchro here as well. It's going to involve using Taia's effect. Basically what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and send the Adhara to the graveyard, and we'll use Chixiao to just add up the Longyuan. Now, because we have the Monk of the Tenyi still on the board, we're able to activate the Adhara's effect from the graveyard, and go ahead and wheel that Vishuda back into our hand. Now, if we did have another Swordsoul or Worm card, well, honestly, we'd probably have a better play if we did. But let's say it was something like, I don't know, a second Vishuda, or something that we couldn't, a second Taia, just something that we couldn't use. Then we could send like an Ashuna with Taia instead, or just probably an Ashuna for further plays there. But in this scenario, I'll just show you how to ensure that you have the Longyuan target if you didn't have it already. So, yep, now we can go ahead and activate Longyuan, discard that Vishuda we just wheeled back, throw that here, get our token, and go ahead and go into Baronne. Let's throw that in this corner right over here. I like to put Baronne on the right side here because your far right main monster column is technically your safest zone to put things in, because, you know, obviously if you put things in like this zone or this zone, they're liable to get affected by Link Karibo or Relinquished Anima. But if you put it in this zone or this zone, it can still get affected. This is a very, very, very niche card, but this zone is Geoverse Transverser to swap control. I forget off the top of my head what the danger in the middle zone is, but there's no effect that can affect something in the far right main monster zone. So that's kind of like the quote-unquote safe spot, which is typically why I like to put Baronne there. But yeah, so, you know, again, Vishuda plus Taia, at a glance you might see that and think, oh, that's such a dead hand. But no, we are still able to set up the minimum of what we like to set up on turn 1 ideally, which is Chixiao plus Baronne with that kind of a hand. So yeah, just wanted to demonstrate what a kind of seemingly not great hand is capable of doing. All right, let's go and look at the next combo line. Okay, so for this line, I wanted to show you guys what you can do if you open with Tenyi Spirit, Ashuna, and then any other Tenyi card. We actually opened both other Tenyi cards, but let's assume we open Ashuna and Vishuda in particular. Because if we have Ashuna plus Adhara, we can just go into the Halq line. But we can't really do that necessarily if we have Ashuna plus Vishuda. But this combo line might still be applicable to you if you open Ashuna plus Adhara, because 1, this combo could come up later in the game after you've already used Halq plus Rorodon, but 2, sometimes even during turn 1, if I special summon the Ashuna, right, and then upon the resolution of the summon, my opponent has a prompt to activate effect, not when I use Ashuna's effect, but after Ashuna is summoned, that's a pretty big giveaway. They've got either Valor or Infinite Impermanence, and those are going to mess your Halq line up because they'll negate your Crystron Halqi Fibrax, and then you'll be forced to, not only will you be forced to end on just the Halq, but then you also won't be able to Halq line later in the game as well. So if you special the Ashuna and you notice that, and you suspect your opponent, highly suspect they have a Valor or an Imperm, you could also do this line with Ashuna plus Adhara. It's a really, really niche scenario, but it has come up for me it came up for me like 2, maybe 3 times in total from when I climbed the start of Season 6 up to Diamond 1. And it did allow me to play around the effect negations more effectively in that case. But for the sake of this combo, it'll just be more of a demonstration of what Ashuna plus Vishuda gets you. So we're going to start by special summoning the Tenyi Spirit Ashuna in defense mode over here. And as always, we'll begin by linking away our Tenyi monster for a monk. Having a non-effect monster on the board will allow us to use our Tenyi effects. Now, before we use Ashuna's effect, we're going to go ahead and special the Vishuda here. If you were using the Adhara, then you would special it here as well. But you want to special summon that before you use Ashuna's effect while you only have non-effect monsters on the board. So now we can go ahead and activate Ashuna. And we'll summon an Adhara from our deck. Now you might be wondering, well, if you're just summoning an Adhara from the deck anyway, can't you just go for the Halq line right now anyway? But no, we can't, because remember, Ashuna is going to lock us into only being able to special summon war monsters for the rest of the turn if you use Ashuna's effects. So from here, we are going to go into our Chixiao using Adhara and Vishuda. And this is definitely the most risky Chixiao, because you can't chain block this one with any effects. You just have to activate it and kind of hope it resolves. If your opponent does have the Valor and the Imperm, by the way, and you're playing it kind of like the other way around, well, basically you would use, if you were summoning Adhara, you would use Ashuna to summon a Vishuda instead, and then you go for the Chixiao. And then if they had the Valor or Imperm like you suspected, then here's where they would negate. But it's definitely better to end on these than just a Halqi Fibrax, because you still have the, obviously the body, but also the effect negation of Chixiao next turn. So again, if you happen to be observant enough to notice, like, wait, my opponent only got a prompt to activate an effect once the summon resolved and Ashuna was on board, that typically, not always, but typically indicates, again, that they have Valor or Imperm. But again, we're just going to keep continuing now down the Ashuna plus Vishuda line. So yep, we're going to use Chixiao's effect here to add a card. Now, we actually have a couple of different options of what we want to make here. From this point, we have the option to either make a Chaofeng or a level 10 synchro, either a Baronne or a Chi or a Chengying. That line we've seen a lot already, making a level 10 synchro. So I'll just explain it real quick here. If you wanted to make a level 10 synchro, you would just add Longyuan, and then, like we touched on in earlier combos, if you didn't already have something to send for the Longyuan, you could just banish Adhara, wheel the Ashuna back to your hand, and then discard that for the Longyuan. But this is actually a unique opportunity to show how you can set up a Chaofeng, which is the level 9 that'll stop your opponent from using, in our case, light monster effects, which light is a really, really good attribute to hinder nowadays, due to this matchup, due to Numerons, due to Drytron, due to Eldelich. Basically, Trizu is like the only major deck right now that doesn't have any light effects. So Chaofeng can often be a pretty good card to bring out, and I'll show you how to bring him out here. So instead of searching Longyuan for level 10 synchro, I'm going to search up a Mo Ye. Now, here is kind of the problem, though. If we didn't already have a target in hand, we wouldn't be able to go for this line because we'd have to banish the Adhara out of our graveyard to wheel the Ashuna to use with Mo Ye's effect. And then we need the Adhara engraved to be able to go for the Chaofeng. So I should clarify that you, for this specific line, you do need to have the target already in hand to reveal. So let's go ahead and summon Mo Ye, activate the effect, reveal the Adhara, to summon our Swordsoul token. Now, if you want to go into Chaofeng, you're going to have to use Baxia in order to make sure that you're shutting off light effects. So we're going to go ahead and make Baxia as our level 8 synchro here. And we're not activating this optional effect here because this is the effect to shuffle cards back. But we will draw a card off Mo Ye because, you know, why not? No reason not to. Now, if we again, because we have Adhara in hand, we could, well, I didn't mean to activate that. I actually thought it was prompting me to special summon for some reason. But no, it's actually prompting me to use the effects. Well, whatever, I guess we'll do it. It doesn't really matter here. It's not going to affect the combo. That was a misclick, though. I just want to make that clear. That's not actually part of the combo to summon Chaofeng. What we're going to do to summon Chaofeng is actually activate Baxia's effect. We'll pop this Monk of the Tenyi that's on board, and then we'll grab the Adhara out of our graveyard. Again, this is why, if you want to make Chaofeng, you need the extra card in hand to reveal with Mo Ye, because you need to keep the Adhara engraved. You can't wheel it back to your hand. So now we can go ahead and sync for level 9, Adhara plus Baxia into Chaofeng. You might be thinking, well, can't you just make it with Adhara plus Chixiao? Why did you have to go out of your way to make Baxia? Well, Chaofeng can only shut off the effects of monsters with the attribute of Yang Zing monsters used for this card's synchro summon. So it does have to specifically be a Yang Zing monster, which is in our case here, Baxia for light effects. So, and then yeah, you just follow up with the rest of your turn there. So yeah, I wanted to not only show a line like this where you can summon a Chaofeng, but also show what you can do with, again, Ashuna plus Vishuda, or if you're trying to play around Imperm or Valor in that regard, just an alternate line, or if, again, your Halq Auroradon line's already been used up, you could do this potentially a little bit later in the game, like on your follow-up play or something like that. So, alright, now I think those are all like the specific combos I really wanted to show. Now I'll go ahead and show a couple of opening hands, and I'll just demonstrate what we can do with those. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so yeah, for this last segment, like I said, I want to show you some opening hands and what we can do as far as plays go with each of those opening hands. And to show you that they are like true, legit, random opening hands, I'm going to leave this section unedited, and we'll just, just so you know that, hey, these are just, I'm not like curating these hands to show like weird lines of play. These are just the 5 cards we're going to open. So let's see what we got here. Wow, this is kind of what I like to call a do anything you want hand, because we opened so many different options and so many different targets here. But actually, this is kind of a really good opening hand to show, because hands like this can get overwhelming. You can see this hand and be like, what do I even do here? I have so many different things I can do. It's a very interesting question of what can you do here, because again, we have so many different things we can do. So I'm actually thinking myself here. One thing that I would probably do, again, if I was playing against like a real opponent, not the Dragon Army AI here, but if I'm playing against a real opponent, one of the first things that I'm thinking about is baiting their hand traps. Even though we don't have like a called by or a crossout in this hand, because we have so many cards that we can just make plays with, we could still probably play through a whole bunch of hand traps here. Especially because I think I'm going to end up discarding the second Mo Ye for the Longyuan anyway. So I would actually probably begin by summoning Ashuna here, because, this is probably going to be the only time this turn we just don't control any effect monsters at all. So let's go ahead and do that now while we can. Even though I actually don't really plan on using the Ashuna for anything right now, we'll go ahead and get it out anyway. Not only for potential future plays later, but also for our opponent's got like a Maxx or something. We want to know, ideally, while only special summoning one thing and not using a Swordsoul, which summons 2 things and gives them more draws, and kind of puts us in a position where we have to commit to then giving them more draws by further summoning. So not only is that a good time to activate Ashuna because of its summoning restriction, but also to probe for hand traps there. So we see, and then also, like I touched on the last combo, having the Ashuna resolved on the board here will also potentially let you probe for Valor or Imperm and see if they've got maybe one of those to potentially negate like your Mo Ye here. So In this scenario, though, you know, the Ashuna resolves, right? I would then probably just go ahead and normal summon Mo Ye here and activate the effect. Now, once again, like I touched on earlier, this is actually another really good example hand in the way that I can show what I talked about earlier about revealing your worst card with Mo Ye. So like in this example, I don't want to show them that I have Longyuan because that kind of gives away that I have, you know, more plays coming after this. Same with Swordsoul Emergence, even more so than Longyuan. Emergence is going to be able to add, once I have a secret out, like any worm card for a deck to our hand. So that's any number of plays. So I'm going to show them the Mo Ye, so that way they think my hand is bad. That way they might like play their hand traps differently, or they might just play differently in general. They might play more lax and miss an opportunity to activate a hand trap as a result if they think our hand is worse. So definitely something to be considerate, not considerate of, but definitely something to consider here, rather, I should say. So let's go ahead and summon Chixiao here. I still want to put my Baronne in the far right zone, so I think I'll just go ahead and throw Chixiao in the middle zone. I really should have put Ashuna in either this zone, or the middle zone, but it doesn't really matter that much, but it can matter. Once again, chain blocking Chixiao and Mo Ye here. Ooh, the Mo Ye draw might even accelerate us into even more plays. No, it's just another Longyuan, okay. So in this scenario, like, obviously I've already normal summoned, so I don't need the Taia. I don't need another Mo Ye. I've got 2 Longyuans. I've already got an Emergence. I can just go ahead and add Blackout here. This is actually a really good, I mean, like I said, this is a do whatever you want kind of opening hand, so shouldn't really be any surprises there. Let's go ahead and activate Longyuan's effect. Another thing you could have done that I actually meant to touch on earlier, and it was actually worth considering doing, is doing the Longyuan first with that in hand, because you can set up a Baronne before you start making any other plays, and then that way you can negate any hand trap that your opponent might have. You don't have to do it that way, and I guess I didn't do it that way in this case because I kind of knew my opponent wasn't going to have any hand traps, but you could definitely make an argument for it, and I've played that way sometimes before. With that particular hand, it would have been a little bit awkward because we would have had to discard the second Mo Ye, and then would have had to reveal the Emergence with when we then used our other Mo Ye, which doesn't, I don't know, usually that won't matter too much, but that can make plays a little bit awkward. Just really depends what kind of hand traps and disruption your opponent has. But alright, yeah, so let's go ahead and discard. I forgot for a second, we're activating Longyuan's effect, right? We'll just go ahead and discard the other Longyuan, sure. And then we'll get our Swordsoul token. And we'll go ahead and make Baronne here. Alright, so we're definitely still far from done at this point. Oh, we're going to activate our burn effect, of course, as well, because we've got the Emergence to be able to search the Protoss, but the problem a little bit here now is that, well, we only have 2 attributes in the graveyard, but we still have the Ashuna that we summoned here earlier, so it's pretty good that we did. Now we can just go ahead and send that Ashuna for a Monk of the Tenyi, and that'll put the 3rd attribute in the graveyard for us. We can now activate Swordsoul Emergence. The Monk, by the way, is also going to be a really good Blackout target as well, so we'll go ahead and search Protoss. And I'm trying to think here, because what we could actually do, what if we banished Ashuna, specialed an Adhara, sent that away for a Monk, banished Ashuna, banished Adhara, wheeled the Ashuna back to our hand, linked the Monks for a Shaman. That's just a little win more. I mean, we could do that, and then Shaman, discard the Ashuna that we wheeled, summon something back, and then Protoss. But that's a little win more. We don't have to do that. If we had a better target to summon back with Shaman, it would be a good play. But, yeah, we don't need to do it here. We can just go ahead and... Although, I'm still trying to think if it would actually be better, like... Hang on, let me think for a second. If I banish Ashuna, special Adhara, send for Monk... That uses up both of our Monks. So I'm just trying to figure out if it's worth it to, like, maybe save our Ashuna from getting banished for no reason here. But I think it's totally fine, because any play around that would involve using our 2nd Monk. And you should use as few Monks as possible on turn 1, because it's not uncommon at all for this one to, you know, get destroyed for some reason, and then you need another one later. So I've actually considered playing 3 Monks before, just because that's come up before, like, especially in long, really drawn out games. So I'll just special summon Protoss here. There's no need to overthink it too much. We could have actually just banished the monk from the field if we wanted to keep the Ashuna in the grave, but now we can set up Blackout, and now we can actually target Protoss as our Blackout target because it can't be destroyed by card effects, so that's really nice too. And then also turn off Dark Summons for our opponent there, so yeah, that is kind of basically the line that I was able to do with that hand. Again, that was kind of like a do whatever you want hand, so we probably could have ended on an even nuttier board if we had played a little bit differently, but the way I played it is also how I would have played against a real opponent if I was probing for hand traps and trying to play around all those and stuff as well, so like I mentioned, I'm going to do this section unedited so that you see that you know that you're getting 3 completely random, uncurated hands. So let's go ahead and look at the second hand that we're going to do here. Okay, I mean, this is a pretty standard hand as well. I mean, we opened Ashuna plus Adhara. That's going to be an easy Halq line. We even have an Emergence as backup. And a Valor is backup too, because if you use Ashuna plus Adhara, that actually doesn't use up your normal summon. So the fact that we have those and Called By, this is actually another hand that plays really well around hand traps. You do have to be mindful of Nibiru still with this hand. Like, this hand still doesn't particularly play well around Nibiru because we don't have Crossout Designator, but I mean, even we could still actually play around Nibiru and like hold this Emergence back. I mean, we'd probably do that anyway. So this hand could even... It would really depend on when your opponent Nibiru's as far as how well you can play around it. But yeah, here I would definitely begin by specialing the Ashuna. And then we can link that away if that would click. I don't know why that wasn't clicking. I must just not have held the button down for long enough or something. But we'll link that away for a monk. That's going to let us special summon the Adhara from our hand. Go ahead and toss that right there. Now we can go into Halq. This is also will just be a good refresher for the Halqy Fibrax line as well. Alright, then we activate Halq's effect for the Deskbot right over here. Send those away for the Auroradon. And then we are definitely going to activate Auroradon's effect to get our 3 tokens. And now that multiple machine monsters have been special summoned at once, we can special summon our Deskbot 001 from the graveyard. Now we're going to set up our Yazi here. Oops. Using the Deskbot and 2 of the tokens. This will throw Yazi right over there. And if you're doing this line while going second, your opponent has a card on the board, you don't actually have to tribute Auroradon. You can just use Yazi's effect to pop itself in another card, but if you're a turn 1, you have to use the Auroradon effect here. To destroy, remember it's going to ask us for the tribute first, so we pick the Auroradon and then the Yazi. Alright, now we can activate Yazi's effect. And we're going to special summon the Taia here. Activating Taia, let's go ahead and banish. Doesn't really matter in this case, we just banish Monk. Because we don't have a Protoss like engraved to set up and wheel back, because we're not using Vessel like we did that other time, so... yeah, now we're going to special the Baxia. We'll throw that here in the middle. Do not activate Baxia's optional effect here. Remember, that is the effect to shuffle back, not the effect to bring something back from grave. So we'll send the Mo Ye and activate Baxia's effect. And bring back the Mo Ye. Now, if I didn't already have the Swordsoul Emergence to reveal here, I could have banished Ashuna, summoned something, and then banished Adhara to wheel the Ashuna. I would have had to have done that to, you know, obviously to make the play, and then I'd basically be getting a Chenging instead of a Baronne at the end, which wouldn't be that big of a deal, but just if you're wondering what to do if you didn't already have the Swordsoul card in this scenario. So now we can go for Chixiao. Throw that right over here. And chain block the effects, as always. First in, last out. We want Chixiao to be the last one to resolve, so it needs to be the first one in. Ooh, good Mo Ye draw. Always nice to draw another hand trap going into your opponent's turn on top of your combo here. So we've already got the Emergence. Ooh, but I'm actually going to have to use the Emergence. Ooh, I actually was supposed to play... I actually was supposed to Ashuna and Adhara earlier anyway. Because now I still need to have something to get for Longyuan, and now I'm gonna I'm not gonna be able to Protoss. Basically, here I'm gonna have to make Baronne instead of making Protoss plus Changing. And Protoss plus Changing is, I think, slightly better than... Not about slightly. It's definitely... It's better. I think it's a little bit better than having the Baronne here, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and just search the Longyuan anyway. I'm wondering, actually, is there not... Oh, no, we can... Oh, no, duh. We can actually set up the Baronne here still. I'm glad I thought of this when I did. No, because we can just banish the monster from the grave of the Protoss. We don't have to banish using Ashuna. Cool. Alright, so yeah, we can just do it this way. So, I know I talked earlier that, oh, you can just send the machines, but this time, yeah, we do have to banish something that we can wheel back with Adhara. I think Taia in a vacuum is one of the better cards to end up wheeling back with Adhara for the next turn, in case we don't, like, have any cards, you know, left in grave to play or something. And then, yeah, the Deskbot. Or did I say cards left in grave to play? I meant to say cards left in hand. But, okay, now we can... Oh, no, we still don't have a normal monster. That's what it was. That was the thing that was stopping us. Not being able to banish something. So, sorry, my mistake there. But, I mean, you could still make an argument for making Protoss over Baronne here. But, ideally, yeah, no, we should have Emergence for our random card to discard for Longyuan and then put a Baronne right here. But, I mean, you could set up Protoss as well. I guess you could kind of make an argument either way. And actually, because we haven't normal summoned with this hand... Hey, how about this? We can actually normal summon our Veiler and then set up a Chaofeng. I literally just now noticed that, but that is, like, definitely a thing we could have done on top of everything else with this board. So it's always nice when you can Chaofeng plus Protoss, because then you shut off dark summons plus light effects, and that'll actually stop, like, just about anything. I'm really struggling to think of a deck that doesn't rely on light or dark at all. You might be tempted to say, oh, well, Trizu doesn't, but remember... That's, you know, both Shurig and Access Code, the main boss monsters are both dark. And if you can't go into either of those, there's not a whole lot you ultimately end up doing in Tri-Brigade. So, still a really nice setup, even if it was a little bit of a accidental one. So, alright, let's go ahead and show one more example hand here. Once again, I'm not going to edit out the in-between here, just to show that it is a genuine random hand. Could have actually maybe gone second, showed a going second play, but yeah, whatever. The going second plays are largely similar to the going first ones. Okay, so yeah, we've got the Vishuda plus Ashuna. We've also got a Swordsoul Emergence here. Does that change anything here? I mean, it definitely does, because with Ashuna plus Vishuda, you're locked into worms, but because we opened the Swordsoul Emergence, we actually don't have to be. I'm just trying to think of the order I want to do this in. Like, I still want to special summon a Tenyi. Well, I think I would actually probably want to activate the Emergence first, just to test for an Ash and see if they've got it. Because I don't want to special summon. I don't want to make committal plays and then Emergence and then get Ash. So I think it's probably better to activate Emergence here, since I plan on using it earlier anyway. And in a vacuum, I would just go ahead and get Mo Ye. Okay, but now we can special summon the Ashuna. Put that right here. Although you do still have to be careful of the Mo Ye getting, like, Veilered or Impermed. So let's definitely... I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter though, because right, we summon the Mo Ye, reveal the Vishuda. Well, okay, here's where it would matter, right? Because, I mean, I guess either way you'd probably want to do this, like send the Ashuna for a monk. It's funny how, like, when I'm actually playing a game, it feels like it's so much easier to find the line as opposed to when I actually have to sit down and explain the whole combo, and it's like, wait, what is the best line? No, but, so, like, here, you know, if we want to do the Vishuda Ashuna line, we would have to special the Vishuda here, but since we got the Mo Ye option, we'll probably just summon the Mo Ye here. So this is a bit of a crossroads you have to decide between, because, you know, if we summon the Mo Ye here and it gets negated, then we can't really... We can still use Ashuna's effect, but we don't really have more plays we can go into from there. But, I mean, again, we're playing against the Dragon Army, so we know they don't have a hand trap, but I think ultimately it's still worth it to take the risk for Mo Ye here, especially if you've gone up to this point and they haven't responded yet. But also, like I touched on earlier, if they had Imperm or Valor, they would get a prompt to activate it when your Ashuna summon resolves. So you could actually still watch for that and play around Valor or Imperm that way. That is a really important like thing to watch for, just kind of like a skill to have when playing this deck in particular. I mean, it's good for playing Master Duel in general, but for this deck in particular, it's good to know, like, or rather, it's good to be able to watch out for when your opponent is prompted to activate effects, and then be able to think like, okay, based on what is on board and what I've been doing, these are the hand traps that they should be getting prompted to respond with right now. So, as always, chain blocking Chixiao and then Mo Ye. Ooh, Crossout Exterminator, never a bad draw. And then, let's see. And we'll probably just get the Longyuan and set up the level 10 synchro here. Although, you know what? I just realized I had an Ash in hand. I could have just gone for the Halq line. But this line was also definitely safer, I think. And you could definitely make an argument for going for this line anyway. That's still, but you can see that's still something that even I have to fight to do sometimes, is not see Ash as like, oh, a hand trap you can't combo with, a hand trap is dead. But no, hand traps aren't dead. You know, they're just, as long as they're not tuners anyway, that's what I meant to say. That's what I was going to say, rather. Although, if we don't have to go into the Halq line, it's actually smart not to save it for later. Especially in a case like this where we've got like the Ash in hand. Because, I mean, the Halq line, I mean, yeah, it'll get us more than just this, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still, I mean, this is still comparable to what we would get. This saves the Ash in our hand to use against our opponent for their turn, and also saves the Halq and Auroradon to use later when we maybe have less resources. So I think, ultimately, this was probably still the line, even if I'd recognized in the moment that, oh, I could go for the Halq line, so... Alrighty, that is going to be the end of those example hands, and I think that's going to be the end of this section. So let's go ahead and go over to the outro and just take it from there. Okay, everybody, just want to give a hearty and genuine thank you for watching to the end of the video here, especially on a combo guide video if you actually did watch through the whole thing, because I know these videos people just tend to skip around and look at the particular combos. Not that I blame you at all for that. I mean, obviously that's how I view, or that's how I watch combo guides when I'm doing research as well, but I guess for these style of videos in particular, if you're actually watching the outro, I want to thank you very much for doing so, and just for supporting the channel in general by watching, especially if you're also commenting or subscribing. Those are excellent ways to support the channel. And I mean, comments in general I love, just because I love hearing from you guys and getting your input and feedback about gameplay, about deck building, and all that fun stuff. And then subscribing obviously not only helps me out, but is also the best way to stay notified of when new videos come out, which do happen every single day here on the channel. You get a new Master Duel video every day from me. So yep, I think that's about all I've got for this one. I hope these combos were a little bit more helpful than the last combo guide. Again, we're actually demonstrating like multiple different lines, and it's particularly the Chixiao Auroradon line, which is, I think, important enough to demonstrate rather than just explain like I did in the last one. So glad to be able to put out that visual indicator there. So yep, that is going to do it for this one. Thanks again, like I said, for watching. Now I'm talking in circles, which is how I know I need to just end the video. So without further ado, this is Zexlex signing off. Hope you have a fantastic day.